Yet the truth is, happiness isn't something you arrive at. It's something you cultivate here and now. Welcome to Intuition Unlocked, the podcast empowering empathic women who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their intuition, begin to trust their sensitivities, find inner clarity, and show up with embodied, unstoppable confidence in their daily lives. I am your host, Olivia Ashley, an empath and intuitive, and I'm so happy you're here. Have you ever felt like happiness is just out of reach? Like it's something you're chasing but never quite catching? Or maybe you're waiting for the perfect circumstances before you allow yourself to feel happy. But what if happiness wasn't something outside of you at all? What if happiness was a choice, a skill, and a frequency you could tune into no matter what was happening around you? In today's episode, we're diving into the art of being happy, what it truly is, why it's a choice, how you can learn to be happy, and how this one shift can help open up intuition, alignment, resilience, and possibility in your life. So welcome to Intuition Unlocked, the podcast where we explore what it means to live in deep connection with ourselves, our inner knowing, and the energy that shapes our lives. I'm Olivia, and I'm so excited you are here because we are talking about happiness as a way of living, not just an emotion, not just something fleeting, but a way of being. So let's dive into this. I used to think happiness was something you either had or didn't have. If life was good, then I was happy. If I was successful, if I was getting the good grades or doing the right things, or once I accomplished certain aspects, then I was happy. And I equated when life was hard or I met challenges or things weren't going well, then I didn't get to be happy. Happiness was almost earned in my mind. And last year, when I was dealing with a lot of physical symptoms, daily exhaustion, and ultimately, I think just stress and burnout, happiness felt nearly impossible. I was really struggling to maintain a positive mindset when I felt so bad in my body. And so I became quite scared. I was scared of myself. I was scared of doing too much, scared of pushing too hard, or making things worse for myself. So fear and worrying started to become my norm. And the more I let that fear control me, the harder everything became and the less colorful my life was. Yet in that season, I realized something quite powerful, that I was waiting for happiness to come to me instead of choosing it for myself. I believed that I was not worthy or capable of being happy because my body and myself didn't feel right. And through the midst of all this struggle, in the midst of summer and right after my birthday, I had the opportunity to hike a 14er, which is one of Colorado's highest peaks. And at first, my fear told me no. I hadn't really done anything physically challenging in quite a while. I was really fearful of pushing myself too much and that I would just get sick or feel really bad again. And yet, something inside of me thought, say yes, it's possible. And so after some deliberation, I decided, if my gut is saying yes, and I'm going to be with a friend, we're going to do one that's not one of those super hard ones, then I kind of want to look at this as a goal. Like, let's trial this out. Let's see how this goes. I just had this feeling like if I did it, I was going to be rewarded. So her and I set out and we took most of a day to climb this mountain, and when I was on it, something shifted because we took our time. We just went there for the love of being in nature, for pushing ourselves a little bit and being together. And I feel like I broke free of that fear that had been controlling me. I began to trust my body, feel strong again, and not just in my body, but in my mind and spirit. And with that, I found a deep sense of peace, that knowing even if hard days were going to come, I also had good days. And I also realized no matter what I faced, I got to choose if I was happy or not. That was beyond whatever I was facing. And so I decided in that moment to choose openness instead of fear, and expansion instead of contraction, and happiness instead of feeling stuck and suffering. So that's when this big realization hit me, and why I want to talk about this today, because happiness isn't about circumstance, it's about how we meet them. So, what is happiness? Most people think of it as a fleeting emotion, something that comes and goes depending on what's happening in life. But happiness isn't just about feeling good in the moment. It's a state of being. It's a mindset, a way of interacting with the world around us. It's not about feeling good all the time. It's about cultivating a state of inner peace, gratitude, and presence no matter what is happening around you. And science backs this up. Happiness isn't an abstract idea. It's actually a neurological and physiological state. So when you experience joy, your brain releases a mix of neurotransmitters such as dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins, all of which are going to boost your mood, increase your energy, and enhance your ability to think more clearly and make decisions. And here's the thing. Happiness isn't just about what's happening in your life. I think a lot of us were conditioned to think that, but it's how we interpret it. And this is where I see intuition coming in, because we're using our intuition to interpret our day-to-day in every moment. And here's a great example. Two people can be in the same situation, experiencing the same thing, and one sees this as an obstacle, which then cycles into negativity and struggle and fear sometimes, while the other sees this as an opportunity to take a breath, to navigate what they're coming up against and work through it. So one feels like life is against them, and the other believes life is working for them. Do you see that difference? So happiness isn't about what happens to you. It's more about the story you tell yourself about what's happening and how you face it. So happiness, I see, is a choice. It's something you can actively create instead of passively waiting for. It's also a skill. It's something you can strengthen with practice. You can learn it. You can grow it. And it's a frequency. It's a literal vibration that helps you attract more joy, abundance, and alignment in your life. So when you start seeing happiness this way, it allows things to shift. So if happiness is a choice, why do so many of us struggle with it? I believe that often there are deep subconscious blocks that are making happiness feel unsafe or unattainable for most of us. Here are three big ones. Firstly, the I'll be happy when trap. How often do you tell yourself, I'll be happy when I have more money, when life slows down, when I feel better, when I accomplish this thing? Yet the truth is, happiness isn't something you arrive at. It's something you cultivate here and now. So the practice, if you're stuck in this trap, is ask yourself, how can I invite happiness into this exact moment? How can I be happy now with everything I have in my life? And how can I use happiness to help fuel whatever it is I want to manifest? Because those things are still worthy, but I can be happy now in this moment. And I can also be happy then when I get that next thing. But those are just aspects that can be interchanged. The core piece is I am happy. Another one is guilt around happiness. Many women feel guilty for being happy, especially when others are struggling. We are highly empathic, we are highly intuitive and compassionate, and we just want everyone to feel good. So when we see our friends or our family or our community struggling with something in their life, we often dampen our happiness to feel like we're not showing it off or we're not being too much or too big, because then we start to feel guilt, like, oh, people are looking at me and maybe I'm not fully worthy of this. But your happiness does not take away from others. There's something beautiful about it. It actually elevates them. So when you embody your joy, your happiness, you become a source of light and inspiration for those around you, and you remind them what they are capable of. That if they are not happy or they are struggling, it's a temporary space of living, and they have the option to begin to adjust and learn and find happiness in their life. The last thing I often see keeping us from happiness is around generational patterns. Maybe you grew up in a home where stress, negativity, or scarcity was the norm, and happiness may have even felt very foreign. It wasn't what you saw reflected within your relationships, your family unit, and it caused you to feel like happiness only comes in certain circumstances, yet you must know you are allowed to rewrite this story. You do not have to carry the heaviness that you watched and grew up in forward. You get to choose whatever path you want. And if happiness is a core aspect that you are really wanting and searching for, then note that you can choose that right now. You can let yourself be happy and embody that fullness that it brings. And that's important because everything is energy, including your emotions, and happiness is an emotion. And when you step into that frequency of happiness, it helps you shape your reality. Because happiness is one of the highest vibrational states you can be in. So when you're cultivating it, you're aligning yourself with more positive experiences, relationships, and opportunities. And it's like you've zoomed out and are witnessing the grandness of life and all aspects. So think about it. When you're in a joyful state, you make different choices than when you're in a negative state. You carry yourself differently. You respond and interact with people in a different way. You're open to new experiences. You take inspired action. You have a bit more confidence, and the energy you radiate is a bit more magnetic. It's going to draw the right people to you and the situations into your life. On the flip side, if you are stuck in negativity, fear, frustration, you're subconsciously closing yourself off from the world, from people, from opportunities. You're still going to have people come in. You're still going to have things come forward, but they're going to resonate at the level you're at. And so it's really not going to add to your life. It's going to maintain. Whatever your energy is, you're going to typically have the same resonance be reflected back at you. And so that's why many of us get caught in these loops. It's just like it becomes a reality and our norm, and we forget anything else is possible. But this is where it gets interesting because everything is possible. And happiness is strengthening intuition because the state of happiness opens your heart. It expands your energy and it welcomes the perspective of the present. All these aspects help that whisper of intuition come forward to be noticed. So if you want to continue connecting with your intuition more, start by choosing joy and happiness because it raises your vibration. You trust yourself more when you're in that state, and it's going to help align you with your highest path, the path that feels most true, most authentic, most right for you. So how can you do this? How can you cultivate happiness in each day? It's actually simpler than you think, yet it requires practice. It is a practice to be happy. It is a learned aspect of being. And here are a few powerful ways to start. Firstly, a gratitude practice. Every day, list 3 things you're grateful for. This shifts your focus from what's wrong to what's right and steps you into that place of expansiveness and gratitude and joy. Second, practice mindful presence. Slow down and truly experience the present moment. You can use your senses to connect with the smell, the sights, the sounds, how you're feeling in your body, what messages are there, what are you noticing, and allow a smile to come to your face. Happiness isn't about the past or the future, it's the now, and every moment you're making a choice. Thirdly, reframe your thoughts. Our thoughts can be our best friend or our worst critic. So when you catch yourself in a negative cycle, ask, what's another way I can see this? How can I be that best friend to myself? What would they say to me in this moment? The fourth one is movement and nature. Moving your body and spending time outside naturally boosts your happiness chemicals. So make time for it. Make sure you're seeing the sun, getting some fresh air, walking your dog, doing anything you can to just soak up a couple minutes. It doesn't have to be a long time, but it enforces that connection to both yourself and your body, but also to nature, to this world and the life that we are living. The fifth one is choose joy again and again. Find something to deliberately bring you joy every day. Whether it's music, laughter, a creative outlet, a fun background, an affirmation on your mirror, whatever that is, help yourself remember it's easy to choose joy. You can do that by putting things around your space and bringing things into your life that bring joy. Because happiness is not something that just happens. It's something you build one moment at a time. So maybe make a happiness list. Write out 10 things that make you happy. So when you feel like you need a little hit of joy or a smile, you can look at that list, not have to think about it very hard, and just choose one of those things and do it. It can be super simple, whatever those things are that make you happy. Because the impact of happiness goes far beyond just feeling good. It actually affects your physical health, your longevity, and your overall well-being. There's studies that show that people who cultivate happiness live longer. They have stronger immune systems and they experience lower levels of stress and inflammation. Chronic stress is one of the biggest killers of happiness, and more of us are living in a state of chronic stress, which leaves us dysregulated and having a harder time accessing joy, pleasure, fulfillment. And that's where nervous system regulation can really come into play. That happiness list, that joy list are going to help you, but you can also use breath work, meditation, self-care, slowing down to bring your body back into grounded homeostasis. Because when you're in a space of stress, you're not going to be feeling super happy. You're going to be on edge, a little more anxious and overwhelmed. But when you can begin to slow down, take your time, be present, take a breath, it drops you in, and then you can remember the greater purpose. Remember your soul's calling. Remember that, oh, I'm just a soul experiencing this body. I am the I behind the I, and life is okay. It's a dance, it's a dream, it's a game, however you want to see it. And just zoom back out and remember that we get to choose how we show up, how we feel. And not in every moment. We're going to struggle. We're going to go through challenges. We're going to have suffering at times. And yet, at its core, we can remember that we are happy. We are okay. And if we aren't, we have the choice to do something about it. So remember, the happier you are, the healthier you are. And the healthier you are, the easier it is to live in alignment with your true self. And it's not about forcing happiness. This is about finding authentic joy and happiness. So let's do a quick practice together I call the 60-second happiness shift. Some days happiness can feel hard, or maybe you just need a quick reminder of what happiness feels like. So here's a quick practice to bring yourself back to joy. Firstly, take a pause and breathe. You can close your eyes, take a couple deep breaths, and place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Begin to shift your focus back to yourself, away from any worries or racing thoughts. Focus on your breath, focus on your body, and ask yourself, what's one tiny thing I can appreciate right now? What comes forward for you? What can you deeply appreciate? Either a big thing or a very simple, small thing. And notice that feeling. Let that feeling expand and take up your whole body. Let that smile come to your face. Let the warmth, the joy, the love begin to emanate from your heart out into your aura, in your energy field. And take a deep breath to settle it in. And then tell yourself, I choose happiness. I choose peace. I choose love. You can take another deep breath. You can bring your hands to heart center. And then you can open your eyes. So this quick shift can help reprogram your mind and bring you back to a state of presence and gratitude at any time. It can be so simple, and that's what I love about happiness. So, overall, remember, happiness is not a destination, it is a practice. It's a frequency you can tune into and a mindset you can cultivate. It's a way that you choose to move through your life. And when you choose happiness, you align with more clarity, ease, intuition, and possibility. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to follow the podcast and share it with one person who can use a smile. I'm so grateful to have you here, have you listening, and being a part of this community, because I know if you are choosing happiness, you're going to bring a smile to someone else's face today, and that is going to ripple out into the ether and affect so many people. So until next time, remember that happiness is always within reach. You just have to choose it. Thank you for joining me on Intuition Unlocked. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment of insight, guidance, or intuitive inspiration. To dive deeper into our community and get access to exclusive content, head to my website at www.olivia-ashley.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You can also connect with me on Instagram at wildlyolivia for daily inspiration and updates. Remember, your intuition is your superpower. Trust it, nurture it, and let it guide you. Until next time, I'm Olivia Ashley, and I can't wait to connect with you again.